3 days after the battle, a large ship arrived at Proxima Centauri 6. Unlike the angular human vessels or the dark Droth ships, this new arrival was smooth and elegant, its hull shimmering with a pearl-like finish. It was the Galactic Union, diplomatic vessel Harmony, carrying officials who had rushed to the scene as soon as they learned of the Earth fleet's arrival. Captain Lisa Freeman stood with Administrator Zivtil in the colony's main docking bay, waiting as the airlock connected with the Union ship. She wore her formal uniform, with Commander Frank Ellis and Security Officer Kyle Reyes beside her. "The Union has sent Ambassador Kelvor," Zivtil explained. "He is one of their most experienced diplomats. This shows how seriously they are taking this situation." Lisa nodded. "We've contacted Earth. Fleet Admiral Wells is on his way with our diplomatic team. They should arrive tomorrow." The airlock door slid open and several aliens emerged. Unlike the purple-skinned Varuthi, these newcomers had a variety of appearances. The one in front had blue-green skin and 4 arms. Behind him were beings of different shapes and colors, all wearing similar formal robes with Union symbols. "Administrator Zivtil," the leader said, bowing slightly. "I am Ambassador Kelvor. The Union Council sends its relief that your colony survived the attack." Zivtil bowed in return. "Ambassador, may I present Captain Lisa Freeman of the United Earth Defense Fleet. She and her people saved our colony." Kelvor turned to Lisa, studying her carefully. "Captain Freeman, on behalf of the Galactic Union, I extend greetings to you and your species." "Thank you, Ambassador," Lisa replied. "Humanity is pleased to finally make official contact with the galactic community." Kelvor's expression showed a mix of emotions. "Yes, about that. I understand this situation is unusual. Perhaps we could continue our discussion in a more formal setting." Soon they were seated in the colony's large conference room. Union officials sat on one side of the table, humans on the other, with Varuthi representatives in between. The tension in the room was clear. "Let me address the obvious issue," Kelvor began. "Earth has been classified as a restricted world for several centuries. Contact was not scheduled to occur for at least another 50 years. "So we've been told," Lisa said calmly. "Yet you've been watching us all this time." Kelvor nodded. "Observation is standard procedure for all developing worlds. In Earth's case, extra caution was deemed necessary due to your planet's classification." "As a death world," Frank added, his voice neutral but his eyes sharp. "That term may sound harsh to your ears," Kelvor said, "but it is simply a classification based on planetary conditions. Worlds with high gravity, extreme weather patterns, and high biodiversity of dangerous organisms are rare in our galaxy. Species from such worlds tend to develop differently." "You mean we're too aggressive for your comfort?" Kyle suggested. Kelvor's 4 hands made a complicated gesture. "Historically, species from challenging environments develop strong survival instincts and competitive tendencies. These can sometimes clash with the more cooperative nature of the Union." Lisa leaned forward. "Yet when the Droth attacked, it was Earth that answered the call. Where was the Union's cooperative nature then?" Several Union officials shifted uncomfortably. Zivtil spoke up. "The nearest Union defense forces were days away. Without Earth's intervention, our colony would have been lost. Which brings us to an important point," Lisa continued. "You've been keeping us in the dark because you feared what we might do with advanced technology. Meanwhile, pirates like the Droth are attacking peaceful colonies. It seems the Union could use some help with security." Kelvor was silent for a moment. "Your point is well taken, Captain. The Union has maintained peace for so long that our defensive capabilities have diminished. The Droth and other outlaw groups have taken advantage of this in recent years. Where we come from, those who can protect others have a responsibility to do so," Lisa said. "That's why we answered the distress call without hesitation, even though we had no idea who sent it," a Union scientist spoke up. "This behavior is surprising. Our studies of Earth history showed frequent conflicts and wars." "Yes, we've fought among ourselves," Frank acknowledged, "but we've learned from our mistakes. And we've always been at our best when facing external threats or helping those in need." The discussion continued for hours, with both sides learning about each other. The Union officials were clearly surprised by the humans' reasonable nature, given their expectations of Deathworlders. The next day, Fleet Admiral John Wells arrived aboard the UES Constitution, Earth's flagship. The large vessel dwarfed even the Union diplomatic ship. Wells was a tall, dignified man with gray hair and the confident bearing of someone used to command. A formal meeting was arranged between Admiral Wells and the Union delegation. This time, the setting was the grand conference room aboard the Constitution, decorated with Earth flags and symbols. Admiral Wells greeted the Union representatives warmly. "Welcome aboard. I hope this meeting marks the beginning of a long and beneficial relationship between Earth and the Galactic Union. Ambassador." Kelvor seemed impressed by the human ship and its crew. "Your vessel is remarkable, Admiral. Its design suggests it was built for both exploration and defense." "That's right," Wells confirmed. "Humanity has always looked to the stars with hope, but we're also practical. The universe can be dangerous, as recent events have shown." The official discussions began with presentations from both sides. Union representatives explained their structure, member worlds, and long history of peaceful cooperation. Earth officials described human history, focusing on their technological development and recent global unification. "What interests us most," Kelvor said, "is how Earth would fit into the existing Union framework. Our members share resources, knowledge, and cultural exchanges. But they also agree to certain restrictions, particularly regarding military forces." Admiral Wells nodded thoughtfully. "Earth understands the importance of rules in any community. However, the recent Droth attack demonstrates that the Union's defensive capabilities may need strengthening." "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" Kelvor asked. "A special arrangement," Wells proposed. "Earth would join the Union as a member world, with all the benefits and responsibilities that entails. But we would also serve as a protective force, responding to distress calls and dealing with threats like the Droth." The Union officials discussed this idea among themselves in hushed tones. Finally, Kelvor addressed the humans again. "This proposal is unusual, but these are unusual circumstances. Your swift response to the colony's distress call shows Earth's protective instincts can be a force for good. Perhaps our fear of Deathworlders has been misplaced." 1 month later, the formal agreement was signed. Earth would join the Galactic Union with special status as a protective member. Human ships would form a new rapid response force, answering distress calls throughout Union space. On the Proxima Centauri colony, now fully repaired and strengthened with new defenses, Captain Lisa Freeman stood with Administrator Zivtil, watching, as the new joint Earth-Union defense station took shape in orbit. "When we sent that distress call," Zivtil said, "we never imagined it would change the galaxy forever." Lisa smiled. "Sometimes help comes from unexpected places." "The Union feared Earth for centuries," Zivtil mused. "We called you Deathworlders and kept our distance. Now many worlds are requesting Earth protection forces." "Funny how things work out," Lisa replied. "You feared us because we evolved in a harsh environment. But that same environment taught us to value cooperation and mutual protection. Without challenges, we might never have developed the strength to help others." News of the Earth fleets' victory over the Droth had spread quickly. The pirates and outlaws who had preyed on outer colonies suddenly found themselves facing a new threat: human ships that actively hunted them down. Piracy rates dropped dramatically as word spread. "Don't attack Union worlds. The Deathworlders will come." But within the Union, a different message was spreading. Earth was opening cultural and scientific exchanges with dozens of worlds. Human doctors were sharing their advanced medical techniques. Engineers were helping strengthen defenses, and diplomats were building new friendships. "Do you still think of us as dangerous Deathworlders?" Lisa asked Zivtil as they watched Earth and Union crews working together on the new station. Zivtil's skin rippled with warm colors of amusement and friendship. "Oh, you are definitely dangerous to anyone who threatens peace. But to friends, you are the best allies anyone could hope for." The distress call that the Varuthi had regretted sending had brought humanity onto the galactic stage. and the galaxy was discovering that sometimes a little Deathworld strength was exactly what was needed. As Lisa looked out at the stars, stars that now contained friends rather than just mysteries, she smiled. Earth had found its place in the universe not as conquerors but as protectors. "Ready to head home?" Frank asked, joining her at the viewport. "Yes," Lisa said, "but we'll be back soon enough. There's a whole galaxy out there that might need our help." The red light blinked faster and faster on the main screen. Captain Eliza Clark leaned forward in her command chair, her dark eyes fixed on the pulsing dot. It was Uro 300 ship time, and most of the crew on the USS Dauntless were asleep. Not anymore. "Wake up all senior staff," she ordered, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge, "and someone get me answers about this signal." The USS Dauntless was the pride of Earth's small but growing space fleet. Built 5 years ago, it combined human toughness with alien tech that humanity had traded for. The ship was big, nearly half a mile long, with a crew of 300. Their job, patrol the edge of human space and show the flag. Lieutenant Rosa Diaz's fingers flew across her console. As communications officer on night shift, she had first spotted the strange signal. "Captain, I've run it through all our databases, twice. It doesn't match any known human pattern. It has to be alien." "Show me the origin," Eliza said, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. A star map appeared, with a small blinking light far beyond human territory. "That's in the outer reaches," Eliza muttered. "What's it saying?" "Working on translation now," Rosa replied. "But the basic pattern matches universal distress signals outlined in the First Contact Handbook." The bridge doors slid open, and Lieutenant Commander Paul Newman hurried in, still zipping up his uniform jacket. As first officer, he was Eliza's right hand and closest friend on board. "You look like hell, Paul," Eliza said with a small smile. "Thanks. You know, I was in the middle of my first decent sleep in 3 days," he grumbled, but there was no real anger in his voice. "What's the emergency?" Eliza pointed to the screen. "Possible alien distress call." Paul's eyebrows shot up. That would be a first. Usually they avoid asking us for anything. He wasn't wrong. In the 53 years since humans had first met alien life, relations had been complicated. The galactic community had classified Earth as a death world, a harsh planet with high gravity, extreme weather, and dangerous wildlife. This made humans naturally stronger and more durable than most alien species. It also made them scary. More crew members streamed onto the bridge. Navigation Officer Kelly Wright, a young woman with bright red hair cut short in military style. Security Chief Greg Dawson, built like a tank and always alert. And finally, Chief Science Officer Dr. Alan Powell, a thin man with tired eyes and the brain of a genius. "Tell me about the signal," Eliza demanded. Dr. Powell took over the main console. "It's definitely a distress call, Captain. But it's strange. Most of it is still garbled, but there's clear astronomical data embedded in the message." "What kind of data?" Paul asked, moving closer. "Planetary conditions," Powell replied, his voice growing excited. "And that's the interesting part. The planet they're on has gravity 2.3 times stronger than Earth." The bridge went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Security Chief Dawson voiced what they were all thinking. "So, they're specifically calling for beings that can handle high gravity? They're calling for us?" "Looks that way," Powell nodded. "Most species we've met evolved on worlds with gravity between 0.7 and 0.9 of Earth's. They find our world crushing and painful. Whatever trouble these aliens are in, they need someone who can function in heavy gravity." "How far away is the signal?" Eliza asked. Kelly checked her navigation screens. "About 3 days at maximum warp, Captain. It's coming from a star system we've designated NGC 4729. Eliza stood and straightened her uniform, a habit when making important decisions. "Any other human ships nearby?" "The Orion is patrolling near Johnson's colony," Paul answered. "And the Valkyrie just finished its shakedown cruise last month. Both could rendezvous with us there in about 4 days." Eliza nodded. "Rosa, send a priority message to Admiral Garrison. Tell him we're responding to this distress call and request backup from both ships." "Yes, Captain," Rosa said, already typing the message. "And run every possible analysis on that signal," Eliza added. "I want to know exactly what we're walking into." Dr. Powell looked up from his scanner. "Captain, I've decoded more of the message. It specifically requests assistance from high gravity, adaptable species with advanced technology. They know about us and what we can do." Lieutenant Greg Dawson frowned, his hand unconsciously moving to the weapon at his side. "Could be a trap. Not everyone in the galaxy is happy about humans spreading out." "Noted," Eliza said. "But we can't ignore a distress call. That's not who we are, not who I am." She turned to Paul. "Prepare the ship for possible combat situations, but maintain a rescue mission profile. If someone needs our help, they'll get it." "And if it is a trap?" Paul asked quietly. Eliza's eyes hardened. "Then they'll learn why picking a fight with Deathworlders is a bad idea. Kelly, set course for NGC 4729 maximum warp." "Course set, Captain." "Engage." The Dauntless turned gracefully in space, its engines glowing blue before it stretched and vanished into warp, leaving only stars behind. In her quarters later, Eliza studied the decoded parts of the message again. Humanity had spent decades trying to prove they weren't the dangerous monsters that many aliens feared. They had been careful, respectful, following all the complicated rules of galactic politics. They'd been called dangerous but disciplined, a species to be respected rather than feared. Now someone out there needed exactly what humans could do: their strength, their durability, their ability to survive where others couldn't. Eliza closed the file and looked out her viewport at the streaking stars. This mission could change everything: how aliens saw humans, and maybe how humans saw themselves. "What are we flying into?" she whispered to herself. She had no way of knowing that. Answering this simple call for help would shake the foundations of the galaxy. 3 days later, the USS Dauntless dropped out of warp at the edge of the NGC 4729 system. The main view screen showed a huge red sun with 9 planets orbiting around it. The 4th planet glowed green and blue in the distance, and that's where the distress signal was coming from. "Full scan of the system," Captain Eliza Clark ordered. She hadn't slept much during the journey, spending most of her time preparing her crew for what might come. "No immediate threats detected," Security Chief Greg Dawson reported, his eyes never leaving his console. "But there's something in orbit around the 4th planet." Dr. Powell adjusted his scanner settings. "It's a ship, Captain. Large one. And it appears to be damaged." "Life signs on the planet?" Eliza asked. "Multiple species detected," Powell replied, his voice growing more excited with each word. "At least 7 different biological patterns, and there's something else. Energy readings that suggest weapons fire on the surface." Paul Newman frowned. "So we're not just responding to an accident. There's actual fighting down there." "Yellow." "Alert," Eliza commanded. "Shields up. Let's introduce ourselves to whoever's in that ship. Rosa, open a channel." The main view screen flickered for a moment before revealing an image that made several crew members gasp. The alien commander looked like nothing they'd seen before, a floating see-through jellyfish with at least a dozen tentacles that moved constantly. Its body glowed with changing colors as it spoke. "Earth vessel, your arrival brings great relief," the alien said, its words translated by the ship's computer. "I am Commander Zell Thrawn of the Cephalian Diplomatic Corps." Eliza stood tall. "Captain Eliza Clark of the United Earth Fleet, we received your distress call. What's happening here?" The alien's body pulsed with blue light. "We were escorting delegates from 7 different worlds to establish a new trading post on this planet when we were attacked by Kronax raiders. They've taken our diplomats hostage in the main facility on the surface. And you can't rescue them?" "Yourselves because of the gravity," Paul added, understanding the situation. "Correct," Zell Thrawn admitted. "My species evolved on a world with gravity only 0.3 of Earth standard. The planet below has gravity 2.3 times Earth standard. We simply cannot function there." Even with mechanical assistance, we would be too slow to save the hostages before... The alien didn't finish the sentence. Before what? Eliza pressed. The hostages include species with very specific survival needs, Zelthron explained. Some cannot survive in oxygen-rich environments for more than 12 hours. Others need special temperature conditions. The life support systems in the facility can maintain these conditions, but the raiders may shut them down to force our compliance with their demands. What do they want? Asked Greg Dawson. Technology mainly. Access codes to restricted areas of galactic space, and information about defensive systems protecting key worlds. Pirates with big ambitions, Eliza said grimly. How many hostages and how many raiders? 23 hostages, all diplomatic representatives or their staff, the alien replied. As for the raiders, our scans detected approximately 30 of them. They're from a low-gravity moon in the Kronak system, so they're using powered exoskeletons to move in the planet's gravity. Eliza exchanged looks with Paul. That was useful. Information. Exoskeletons could be disabled. Tell me about this facility, she said. The view screen changed to show a diagram of a dome-shaped building partially built into a hillside. It was designed as a neutral meeting ground, Zelthron explained. 3 levels, mostly underground. The central laboratory has separate atmospheric controls to accommodate various species. That's where they're holding the hostages. And how long have we got? Eliza asked. The most vulnerable hostage species has approximately 9 hours left before their life support needs become critical. Eliza nodded firmly. We'll handle it. Send us all the information you have about the facility layout, the raiders, and the special needs of each hostage species. We'll deploy immediately. Captain, Zelthron's body changed to a deep purple color. There is one more thing you should know. The Kronaks are not accustomed to dealing with species like yours. Meaning what exactly? Paul asked. Your reputation as Deathworlders is not well known in all parts of the galaxy. The Kronaks may not understand what they are facing if you engage them directly. They might underestimate you. A slow smile spread across Greg Dawson's face. That sounds like an advantage to me. Perhaps, the alien agreed. But I must warn you that many in the galactic community are still uncertain about human capabilities. How you conduct this rescue will be closely watched. Eliza understood the warning. How they handled this would affect how aliens viewed humans for years to come. We'll get your people out safely, Commander. That's our priority, she said firmly. Clark out. As the screen went dark, Eliza turned to her officers. Dr. Powell, I want detailed information on all hostage species and their survival needs. Greg, tactical assessment of our options, Paul. Assemble a rescue team, 12 people, our best. What's our approach, Captain? Paul asked. Stealth or show of force? Stealth first, Eliza decided. We'll try to get those hostages out without a fight if possible, but if the raiders force our hand... She let the sentence hang. When do the Orion and Valkyrie arrive? Greg asked. Not for another day, Rosa answered from her station. We're on our own for this one. Paul nodded. I'll get the team ready. Standard gear plus heavy gravity compensation boots. No, Eliza said suddenly. Everyone looked at her in surprise. No gravity boots. Captain? Paul questioned. These aliens called for Deathworlders. They need what makes us special. The gravity might slow us down a bit, but we'll still move faster than anyone. Expects us to without assistance. And if we need to fight, I want our people light on their feet, not clomping around in gravity boots. Paul grinned slowly as he understood. Psychological advantage. The raiders are wearing exoskeletons, feeling safe because they think nobody can function in that gravity without tech help. Then we show up moving freely. Precisely. Eliza nodded. But remember, this is a rescue mission. Minimal force unless absolutely necessary. We're showing the galaxy that humans are the good guys. As the officers left to prepare, Eliza remained on the bridge, studying the image of the planet below. 100 years ago, humans had looked up at the stars and wondered if they were alone. Now they were preparing to rescue alien diplomats from space pirates. The universe was strange indeed, And somewhere in the back of her mind, Captain Clark couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this situation than Commander Zelthron had revealed. The aliens' colors had shifted in an odd pattern when discussing the raiders' motives. But one problem at a time. First, save the hostages. Then get answers. Ready or not, she whispered. Here come the Deathworlders. The dropship broke through the thick clouds of NGC 47294, fighting against winds that would have torn apart weaker vessels. Inside, 12 humans from the USS Dauntless checked their gear one last time. Lieutenant Commander Paul Newman stood at the center, going over the mission plan. Remember, this isn't about showing off, he told his team. It's about getting those hostages out alive. The team was an elite mix of Marines and specialists. Major Olivia Grant, a tough woman with short black hair and 20 years of combat experience, would lead the ground assault if needed. Sergeant Daniel Murphy, their tech expert, was already studying the facility's systems on his tablet. Corporal Lisa Bennett, small but deadly, was their best scout. What about the hostages? Asked Private Ryan Cole, the youngest member of the team. How do we transport species that can't breathe our air? We've got specialized containment bubbles for the most vulnerable ones, Paul explained, pointing to the equipment. Their life support should last 4 hours once activated, plenty of time to get them back to the ship. The dropship suddenly dropped several feet as it hit a pocket of turbulent air. None of the humans seemed bothered. ETA 3 minutes, the pilot called back. I can't land too close to the facility without being detected. You'll be dropped about half a mile out. Paul nodded. That'll work. He looked around at his team. One more thing. You're about to experience gravity that's 2.3 times stronger than Earth. It'll feel like you're carrying a heavy backpack, but you can handle it. The raiders will be in powered exoskeletons, which gives them strength but limited mobility. Remember, you're training. The dropship touched down with a soft thud. As the rear door opened, the team immediately felt the increased gravity pulling at their bodies. They moved more carefully at first, adjusting to the extra weight. Spread out, Major, Grant ordered. Standard patrol formation. The landscape around them was strange but beautiful. Purple plants that looked like ferns grew in thick clusters. The red sun made everything look like it was bathed in blood. In the distance, they could see their target, a curved building, partly built into a hillside. Despite the heavy gravity, the humans moved steadily through the alien forest. Their breathing was deeper, their steps more deliberate, but they were far from helpless. Years of living on Earth had prepared their bodies for this. I've located their perimeter sensors, Corporal Bennett reported quietly. Basic motion detectors and heat sensors, nothing special, Paul nodded. Can you bypass them? Already on it, she replied, kneeling beside a small device half hidden in the purple foliage. Her fingers, though feeling heavier than normal, worked with practiced skill. Done. We've got a blind spot right through this section. For 20 minutes, they moved through the alien landscape, each step requiring more effort than it would on Earth, but instead of slowing them down too much, the humans adapted quickly. By the time they reached the facility's outer wall, they were moving almost normally. Their security isn't that impressive, Sergeant Murphy said as he examined the access panel. Standard quantum encryption, but nothing I haven't seen before. His fingers danced across the panel. And we're in. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the lighting was dimmer than human standard, perfect for their approach. Life signs? Paul asked. Corporal Bennett checked her scanner. Multiple readings clustered in the central lab, just as expected. I can distinguish between the hostage species and what must be the Kronax raiders. How many raiders? 28 active signatures. They appear to be moving in regular patrol patterns. Paul turned to the team. Remember, our primary goal is hostage extraction. The Kronax are a secondary concern. What if they try to stop us? Private Cole asked. Then we show them why picking a fight with Deathworlders is a bad idea, Major Grant said with a grim smile. But we do it clean. No unnecessary force. The team split into 3 groups as planned. One to secure the environmental controls, one to create a diversion, and one led by Paul to extract the hostages. Moving through the facility's corridors, they encountered their first Kronax guard. a tall, spindly creature inside a bulky mechanical suit. Before the alien could sound an alarm, Corporal Bennett fired a stun dart that found a gap in the exoskeleton's neck joint. "One down," she whispered as they dragged the unconscious raider into a storage room. Over their comms, Sergeant Murphy reported from the environmental control room. "I've accessed their systems. I can manipulate the temperature and atmospheric mix in the North Wing. Ready when you are." Paul and his extraction team positioned themselves outside the central laboratory. Through the reinforced windows, they could see the hostages, a diverse collection of aliens. Some looked almost human, while others were completely different, crystalline beings, floating gas bags, and creatures that seemed made of living metal. The Kronax guards paced among them, weapons ready. "Execute diversion," Paul ordered. Moments later, alarms blared from the facility's north wing. Half of the Kronax guards rushed to investigate the sudden change in temperature that threatened to freeze that section of the building. "Now," Paul commanded. The extraction team breached the laboratory doors. The remaining Kronax turned in surprise, raising their weapons. But something unexpected happened. Sergeant Murphy had remotely disabled their exoskeleton's power systems. What followed shocked even the humans. Without their powered suits working properly, the Kronax could barely move in the high gravity. They struggled like people trying to walk through deep mud, their movements painfully slow. In contrast, the humans moved like lightning. Though the gravity slowed them somewhat, their natural strength and adaptation allowed them to move far faster than the aliens expected. Before the Kronax could even aim their weapons properly, the humans had disarmed most of them. One raider managed to activate a backup power system in his exoskeleton and lunged at Paul with a vibrating blade. Paul sidestepped, a move that would have been impossible for most species in such high gravity, and struck the exoskeleton's main power junction with the butt of his weapon. The suit froze in place, and the Kronax inside went from dangerous opponent to helpless prisoner in seconds. "Hostiles neutralized," Paul reported, looking around at the wide-eyed alien hostages who were witnessing human combat capabilities firsthand. Many seemed unable to believe what they had just seen. "We're from Earth," Paul told them calmly. "We're here to get you out." A crystalline being stepped forward, light reflecting through its transparent body. "You move without assistance," it said through the translator. "In this gravity, it's what we do," Paul replied simply. "Now let's get you all to safety. Which of you needs immediate environmental support?" 3 aliens raised appendages. A small amphibious creature with gills fluttering weakly on its neck, a being that seemed made of living gas contained in a thin membrane, and a 6-legged insectoid whose exoskeleton was starting to crack. Under the gravity, the humans quickly deployed the containment bubbles, creating safe environments for the most vulnerable aliens. The others could survive in standard conditions long enough to reach the Dauntless. "Transport arriving in 5 minutes, Major Grant reported over the comm. "North entrance is secure." As they prepared to move, one of the alien diplomats, a tall humanoid with purple skin, approached Paul. "I have seen many things in my 200 years, it said, but never have I witnessed beings move so naturally in conditions that should crush them. The stories about humans, they were not exaggerated." Paul shrugged, an action that took more effort in the heavy gravity. "Like I said, it's what we do. Come on, let's get you all home." As they led the freed hostages toward the extraction point, Paul couldn't help but notice how the aliens watched the humans with a mixture of awe and something else, something that looked almost like fear. He hoped Captain Clark would know what to do with that. Humans had just shown the galaxy what Deathworlders could do, for better or worse.